Joe Biden's in Ohio today, making stops in Toledo and Cincinnati for a voter mobilization event. Earlier today, he commented on President Trump's behavior since testing positive for the coronavirus.
Ask yourself, why didn't he tell us? Why didn't he warn us? He said nothing. He told Woodward that he didn't want to panic the American people. That's why he said nothing. We don't panic. America doesn't panic. But Trump panicked. His reckless personal conduct since his diagnosis has been unconscionable. The longer Donald Trump is president, the more reckless he seems to get.
NBC News correspondent Mike Memoli joining me now from Toledo. Mike, Biden's still going after the president's COVID response, saying his behavior since his diagnosis has been reckless, even more reckless, he said. Is the campaign's strategy here to keep the focus on something that they see as a major weakness for the president?
Yeah, absolutely, Allison. I mean, the Biden campaign has been saying for months that they think the #1 issue that voters will be deciding about in November is the coronavirus and the president's handling of it. But think about where we were just a week ago. The Biden campaign sort of declared a ceasefire in terms of talking about the coronavirus, given the president's diagnosis, right? They said that they were going to take down their negative ads against the president. They were also going to, even when he was asked about it, Biden said he wasn't going to attack the president over his diagnosis because he said he would follow the advice of the doctors. Now, of course, though, the president's back on the campaign trail. He's talking about how he's cured. And so you see Biden attacking Trump today on two fronts about the coronavirus. One, you heard there using the word reckless twice to talk about the fact that even the president in his own personal behavior is acting irresponsibly after getting the coronavirus and declaring that he's now cured. Secondly, I know you've been talking to Shannon about this, that ad from the Trump campaign that raised a lot of eyebrows with Anthony Fauci's own words used in a political advertisement. Fauci saying that those words were being taken out of context. Biden hammering the Trump campaign for that today, calling it an example of their overwhelming lying. Now, we should also remember that for Anthony Fauci, who's always tried to be a nonpartisan figure, he's been pulled into the campaign on both sides of the argument. Biden, remember, just a few months ago said that the very first call he's going to make if he's declared the winner on election night is to Anthony Fauci to ask him to stay on for another 4 years in his role as the country's leading epidemiologist. So Anthony Fauci tries to stay out of it, can't avoid being part of the political fray these days.
It seems nobody can these days, Mike. Let's talk about Ohio specifically.
Right.
President Trump won it back in 2016. Trump and Biden have been locked in a pretty close race there right now. What is Joe Biden doing to try to cut into Trump's base in this state? I know ad spending is a big part of that plan.
Yeah, this is a state that a lot of Democrats were worried was slipping away from them. They looked at Hillary Clinton losing by 8 points in 2016 and thought that, given how well Trump did here 4 years ago, it probably wasn't going to be, in battleground map. But Biden's campaign has always felt it's really competitive. In 2012, when the Obama-Biden ticket was kicking off its re-election campaign, Biden held the first campaign event for that ticket here in Toledo. And I think if you look at Biden's strategy today, you can get a sort of glimpse of how they think they can win the state back. His audience here in Toledo was a very union-heavy crowd. He was making a direct appeal to the union workers. Remember, Hillary Clinton only won union households narrowly. It was the smallest margin for a Democratic nominee since 1984 in the Reagan re-election landslide. So Biden thinks he has a real appeal to them there. Now he's just getting off the plane in Cincinnati, in the southern part of the state. Cincinnati, especially the areas just outside in the suburbs, that used to be the biggest Republican turnout engine for the state. That's where Republicans really ran up the numbers if they were going to win statewide. Biden is campaigning there because he really thinks, and he's shown it so far, the ability to win moderate Republicans. Remember, it was John Kasich, the two-term governor here not long ago, endorsed Joe Biden. They think there are a lot more Republicans like John Kasich that they can peel off, and that really cuts off the pathway for Donald Trump in what has always been one of the bellwethers in the national campaign.
Mike, Joe Biden has a voter mobilization event in Cincinnati tonight. Since he's also pretty close to Kentucky, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's home state, you have said this is Biden's strategy across state lines. Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, so of course we're talking about Ohio. That's the Biden campaign focus today. But where they've positioned him today also has some appeal across state lines. Toledo is only a couple, maybe 20 miles or so from the Michigan state line. So when he's here talking about auto workers, talking about unions, that also gets some coverage across the line in Michigan, so that helps him in that battleground state as well. Now, if you know the geography of Ohio and Cincinnati specifically, you know that if you fly into Cincinnati, you actually land in Kentucky. And that's another thing we're seeing emerge as part of the Biden campaign strategy. They're doing everything they can, not just to try to run up the numbers for him in these key states, but also to try to play and help out Democratic Senate candidates. Now, Mitch McConnell, probably, the favorite still to win re-election in Kentucky, but I'll be interested to see when Biden takes the stage in Cincinnati, just how much he talks about the Supreme Court fight, just how much he attacks Mitch McConnell directly, because in that area, you're getting a lot of carry and a lot of play also in Kentucky, and he can do a lot of help for Amy McGrath, who is looking to really regain some momentum in that Senate race in Kentucky.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.